Cory Ferguson. I've been tattooing for 14 years.
Okay, and where are you tattooing?
Right in the crease between the palm and the finger.
Okay, perfect. What you tattoo in Toronto,
Yeah,
Canada?
just outside of Toronto.
Okay.
A little suburb of Toronto called Oakville.
Awesome.
So not too far, about 20, 25 minutes from downtown Toronto.
Okay. And what's the name of your studio?
The shop is called Good Point Tattoos.
Okay. So I guess things that interest me particularly about your work is how expansive it is, even though it's in a certain kind of style. So where do you find most of your inspiration to do these types of patterns and dot works and repetitive things?
I mean, obviously a certain amount of the inspiration comes from the client if they have, a certain request or whatever. Like this weekend here, I did a lot of stuff that I, don't normally do, but it was just on the client's sort of wishes. Did like a bunch of crystals and stuff the other day, which I've never done before. Today I did like a geeky kind of themed sleeve with binary code and circuit boards and stuff, which I was totally into, but it's not totally my normal thing either. So some of it comes from the client. When I first started doing it, I would get a lot of the patterns out of books, like out of like Dover's copyright-free design books.
Mm-hmm.
All that kind of stuff. So yeah, a lot of the patterns were coming out of those. But nowadays I'm making more of my own patterns on the computer and stuff like that, so I don't have to rely on the same patterns, because everyone ends up tattooing those same patterns. All the dot work tattooers seem like they were tattooing the same patterns.
Right.
So now I'm basically making my own, so that's
you're
where a lot of it's coming from now. I'm kind of looking for clients that will like give me free reign, so I can tattoo that stuff.
Okay.
So I'm doing a little bit less of like, their idea of what they want to see done in dots is more like I'm getting a little bit more of just my own sort of stuff.
And so when you turn to your computer program and you start to hash out a new pattern,
Yep.
Are you seeing it before you're making it, or are you kind of finding your way through it it's unfolding for itself, or are you like, I have this in my mind, I'm gonna go and make this?
No, it more happens, sounds strange to say, but organically, even though it's on the computer. A lot of the programs you'll like upload some sort of design or something, some sort of image, and then it'll start tweaking it and creating different patterns out of it depending on how you pull it or turn it or whatever. It's like a kaleidoscope basically. So from there I play around. I'll keep pulling it around and twisting it and whatever, altering it until I see something that I think is usable, or something that I could like, I could dot that out a cool way, or until I see something that I think I could tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess it's probably a lot of it is like I see somewhere where there's room for like a gradation or some sort of something that's real eye-catching. You see something that's like, oh, cool, that's like just something catches your eye. It's like something like that. So, and then once I get that, I'll screenshot that or save that tile or whatever.
And so, not to belabor that specific aspect of your creative process, but do you think that, or do you turn to the sacred side of it at times, or the symbolic side of it, or are you more ornamental and kind of not so much concerned with the ancient kind of art of it?
Yeah, I'd say I'm almost entirely ornamental. I do enjoy like good luck symbols as much as the next tattooer and stuff. We do a lot of things like that. Yeah, a limited amount of like Buddhist symbols. A little bit of like the Om is in there sometimes, or the the swastika design and stuff. But beyond that, yeah, it's pretty much ornamental. It's not a big like big like sacred spiritual thing to me. Not any more than tattooing itself is in general for anyone that does it. Yeah, that's not my sort of vibe.
Okay. And where I know you make some really nice portraits. Where does that fit into your current body of work? Are you?
It doesn't really. I've kind of phased that out for the most part.
Okay.
So I used to do them earlier on, but no, I don't even like people knowing that I can do them. I prefer to just like stick to this now.
Yeah, cool.
So occasionally people that have known me for a long time or who have gotten tattooed by me for a long time I'll do a portrait on them because they know I can do it and blah blah blah. But other than that, I really downplay it because I'm not really interested in doing it that much.
Right.
Yeah. One, because I love what I'm doing now. I'm just having so much fun with this. Like this is my thing. And two, I don't know. I kind of feel like if I'm not doing portraits all the time, that I shouldn't really be doing them at all. You know, because they're only going to be so good if you're doing 6 or 7 a year. So I feel like if I was going to do them, I should do them more seriously. So I'm just not interested enough to do them seriously. So I'm trying to phase them out.
So on a somewhat technical aspect, I don't know if this makes you feel uncomfortable, but do you feel that what you're doing now, the style that you do now, pushed you to using certain equipment? Do you feel that you've changed up your setups or what you use and what you turn to execute these types of tattoos?
I don't think it was the style exactly. I think it's more like the times. I don't know. This is a weird era where there's new shit coming out constantly. Every once or twice a year, there's some new machine that everyone's using, and they're not using the machine they used last year. There's a lot of new stuff coming out, and I don't try very much of it. But over the years, I tried a few, and I definitely dug the neo-tats, just the simplicity of them. So I wouldn't say it was because of my style that I switched over to them, but I've definitely switched my setup in the last 5 or 6 years. But I think a lot of tattooers have.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting time for tattooing.
So you're strictly using rotary based machines?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been strictly rotaries for, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so. I was always kind of interested in them, but it took me a while to find one that I actually liked, that I could actually, just switch over. Those ones were actually Ben White's ones. Ben White from Love Hate. His rotaries that he was making, I guess it was 5 or 6 years ago. Those were the first ones I was like, all right, this is it. This is my new machine. I'm a rotary guy. But then after a while, I tried a couple others. Tried the Stigma. That was okay. And then tried the Neo-Tats, and I've been using them ever since.
Okay, cool. Do you feel it's difficult for you to stay on top of being able to push your new patterns that you've been creating, or is that something like you're showing them in a book form, or you're offering them to the clients that come through to you and they're going for it?
I remember there was a time when I had to push all this kind of stuff, like dot work and the Polynesian stuff. Like it wasn't being done over here at all. I picked it up in England, so over here it was completely unheard of, and I remember having to push it on people. But with the new patterns and stuff, it's not too far from what I was doing before, so it's not even like it's a transition. It's just instead of the one that I put on them coming from a book, it came from me or my computer. So most people don't even really know where they come from.
Yeah.
It's not even usually discuss it sometimes, but most people are now like they're pretty trustworthy. They know what I do, so they're not picky about like what exactly they're going to get anymore. It's usually a surprise. They know pretty much like it's going to be a geometric half sleeve or whatever, for example, and maybe they want some of this or that in it, but they don't always like show them like, okay, we're going to use this pattern here, this pattern there, and this thing. It's a lot of it just happens. So it's cool. I don't have to like push anything on anyone or try and convince them that like, oh no, I made this pattern, but trust me, it's going to be cool. It's like,
right. You know what I always wonder, and especially with a tattooer like you, who, if you look through your portfolio, you know, for example, right now you're tattooing the palm and fingers of, you know, on Gabe, and that's a real challenge for even, you know, accomplished tattooers or seasoned tattooers. That's a challenge. Yeah. So, but I see that you're tattooing all over a client's body. You don't, which is really impressive as a tattooer. I really think that's awesome and commend you for that, because I know that at times when certain things come to me, it's like, you know, there's some apprehension.
Yeah.
But I guess,
thanks, man.
Are there areas that you don't like tattooing? I mean, I noticed with this, you're like, all right, let's do it. There wasn't even like a batting of the eye, but.
What do I not like tattooing? I'm sure there's spots. I mean, I like anything on the hand. I've really gotten into the hands in the last few years. I just love doing them. I love the way they look. It's definitely a challenge, but I guess I'm into that challenge. I guess, you know, maybe that's part of what I like about it. Trying to have patterns go right across all the gaps in the fingers and still look, you know, as seamless as I can get them. The challenge of that I really like.
Now, how often do you find, you know, you do a hand, you do that very thing that you're talking about with the seamless pattern across the fingers? Yeah. How often do you find that project is going to have to be revisited? And if so, how many times do you think till you get it to where it's a tattoo that you're not going to have to think about?
Not usually more than once.
Really?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Palms are a different story. I was thinking more. I do a lot more of the backs of hands and the backs of the fingers, and usually with one touch up. Some of them don't need any touch ups, but often, especially around the knuckles and stuff like that, a touch up's not uncommon. But usually one generally takes care of it. I don't think I've ever found that I had to like keep revisiting a hand like over and over.
Are you doing anything with the exception of the, you know, digital pointillism or whatever? Are you do you do other forms of art outside of tattooing?
A little bit of painting, not as much as I'd like to, but what else do I do? Yeah, a bit of painting, sometimes with liquid acrylics. Done some oil stuff. For a while there, I was watching Bob Ross, so I was like, you watching enough Bob Rosses, you're like, I gotta try that. I'm gonna do that shit, because I was DVRing them all the time. I had like 30 or 40 of them saved, so I did a few of those for a while.
Landscapes?
Yeah, a few of those, just to like, that was my first time ever been touching oils. I was like, yeah, fuck, I'm gonna do some of that.
How long ago was that?
A couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah, just because I wanted to try oils.
Try your hand at something different.
So I'm like, that'll be a good start. Yeah, but I don't do a ton of it. I don't know. I find that tattooing keeps me really busy. Tattooing, making patterns. I'm always making patterns on the computer and stuff. Like, I've got thousands of them.
Do you have interest in turning those patterns into anything other than a tattoo?
Yeah, I would when the opportunity comes around.
Yeah.
You know, like there was a company in Canada that got me to they commissioned a piece of artwork, and they made laptop bags and iPhone covers out of.
Really?
And those were super cool. They were rad.
Are they still on the market?
They were like a limited edition. They only made, I think, 1,500, so they sold out really quickly. I guess they were like in. I don't know if you have the same stores up here, but we have a place called Best Buy. Yeah. And Future Shop.
Wow.
They were in those all across Canada, so I guess they sold out like really quickly. So I have one somewhere. My mom's got one. I have one phone case that I used, and it's all crappy and brown now. But that's it. I didn't save any. I should have, but I didn't get any more out of them.
Huh.
So yeah, but that was a great project.
Corey Ferguson board shorts or something.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, you know, that type of artwork can translate to anything from clothing, jewelry, to laptop cases, to whatever.
Yeah. I did a few skateboards. I did one for TNS back when those were the big thing. Yeah, I'm always up for stuff like that.
Who, you know, tattooers these days, who do you feel like do you look at other tattoo work, or are you?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, you do.
I'm still totally obsessed, like I always was. Like you were saying earlier about being a kid into the magazines and stuff. Like I was the same way, and now I'm still the same way. But I guess now it's more like easier just to do it on Instagram and Facebook.
Right.
You know. But yeah, still totally. I'm looking at tattooer stuff every day.
And do you find yourself drawn to tattooers that are like-minded or similar in their body of work, or are you kind of looking at, you know, things that are completely different, or all of it? Like where are you at with that?
Looking at other dot work, yeah. There's so many dot work tattooers out now. Like there's so many that, you know, it's not as exciting as it used to be. You know, to see one, or back when there was like 10 or 12 of them, that was exciting shit. Now there's like a new one every single day on Instagram. But even out of all those, there's a handful that I love. Like I love their work. Some, you know, people that I knew from before, some new people that have cropped up. There's a couple that I've, you know, really dig.
I don't know.
But there's a lot of people that are not dot work tattooers at all that I really dig.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Can you name a couple?
Yeah. Who am I really digging lately? I mean, Nick Chaboya, he's a really good friend of mine, but I don't mind saying it. Like, I love his work. The shit that he's doing it's ridiculous. Like, so good and so inspiring. Who else is doing crazy stuff? I love all that trash polka stuff. Buena Vista Tattoo Club and Zoil and that type of stuff. I love that shit a lot. All those are kind of stuff that I could see incorporating into my work a little bit. You know, some of that, I'm doing a little bit of red here and there.
A little bit of red, is that what you said?
Yeah, a little bit of red and with my black work, just probably because that trash polka stuff looks so cool with it, black and red together. Yeah, I'd like to do a little bit more stuff where it's a little less rigid and a little bit more of the loose kind of almost cubisty stuff that Nick's doing. Like I could see trying to get some of that loose influence into my own work as well. Who else am I really digging lately? Some dot work tattooers. I think it's Alvaro Flores from Australia. His work is really cool. A girl from England called Darren 12. I really dig her stuff a lot.
What got you in? 14 years ago when you started tattooing, what got you into it?
Into tattooing?
Yeah. Was there a moment or a group of artists or a movement of artists that?
No, I was already working at the shop for a long time before I started tattooing. I was still in high school when I started working there, so even at the time that I started, I wasn't planning on being a tattoo artist at all. My dad's a tattooer, so I was working at the shop making needles for the guys there and working the counter a little bit that first summer. And yeah, it's the only like real job I've ever had was in the shop.
So you said you didn't think you would be a tattooer. Did you have something you thought you were looking to be, or
at that time? I didn't really know. I was a punk rocker. I didn't really have a lot of plans as far as career goes. I knew I was enjoying playing in my punk band, and I was organizing gigs and doing a fanzine, and being in these like anti-racist groups. I was a pretty busy punk rocker. It was like a full-time job almost, like organizing the shows, playing in a band, touring around a little bit. All this stuff kept me really busy. And working in the shop was like a way to, look how I wanted, not have to get a real job, and it still allowed me the time to do all that stuff. But
are you playing music now?
No, not at all. Let's see. I was like 17 when I started at the tattoo shop, so I was working there for 7 years before I started tattooing. So right up until the time I was tattooing professionally full time, I played music and organized gigs right up to that point. And then once I started tattooing as like a full-time job, and I really got a taste for it, and really, felt what it was to do it, and that was it. I never played again. I sold my bass, got rid of it. Had no interest in it. It was like tattooing trumped all of that shit. It's like, what am I wasting my time playing music for when I could be doing this,
Now you said you were working at your father's shop?
It wasn't his shop, no. He was working there. It was a place called Way Cool Tattoos. So,
so you're second generation tattooer?
Yep.
Was he, what was his, was he excited about it, or was he like, you need to do something, you should do something else?
No, he was totally down. I mean, he got me the job. He said like they needed someone to make needles for them. It was a very busy shop. Eventually they ended up having like 5 or 6 locations at one point. So they needed someone to make needles. So he thought of me. He's like, oh, you should come down here and do this. We need someone to make needles. You need a summer job or whatever. So he was definitely cool with me being in the business and stuff. And I think all of them at some point suggested like, oh, you should tattoo, after I'd been hanging around the shop long enough and stuff. And at that time, being like 17, 18, I wasn't ready to commit. I saw how long people spent in the shop and the dedication of the artists, and you're there 24/7 really. So I wasn't ready for that at that point. I was like, no, I don't know if I want to tattoo. But maybe 3-4 years later, I was like, I should probably learn to tattoo. I've been drawing my whole life. I've always been like a artsy kind of kid and drawing and stuff.
It's such an interesting. I would love to know. You're in a unique club. I think it'll probably be less unique as there's more and more tattooers. But I would love to know how many tattooers right now are second, third generation.
Yeah.
You're in a unique club that
I think
can't be manufactured.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I used to always say if I ever have a kid, they're going to be a tattooer whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
Just because that'd be amazing. But I think Adam France is the only third one that I've heard of that I know of like now. That's got to be super rare. Third generation.
I know right now there's I don't know if you know of the Yarian, Deborah Yarian, and
no.
Husband, her name escapes me. His name escapes Don Yarian, I think. Anyway, they're teaching at least one of their children right now.
Yeah.
Which is
that'll be third, or
wouldn't be third, but I just think it's cool. Like I watch it in social media. I watch as they post. Oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, and I just think these people have been tattooing 30 years.
Yeah.
Doing this, and I think
that's
it's
cool.
just a very cool thing. And
yeah.
To me, I think it's pretty awesome that you're.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know. Is the kid young?
Yeah, I think he's 17 or 18.
Oh, okay.
It seems. I mean, I don't know him. I just watch him as in social media. That's all.
Yeah. My friend Mario Sanchez from Texas. He's teaching his kid to tattoo, and I mean, he was I think 10 when he started tattooing. Wow. But he's tattooing well. He's doing like quality stuff. Like so I've blown so many people's minds just showing them this kid's work. Like, oh yeah, this is my friend of mine. He's teaching his kid to tattoo, and
that's cool.
Check out his work, and they're like, oh my god, like that's blown away at 11, 12, doing like really good stuff. It's awesome.
Another
really
person
cool.
I don't know, but I don't know what capacity he's done it, but I know Mike Pike, the machine builder. His father was a tattooer. And it seems that I've seen his kids have tattoo machines in their hands from time to time. So just awesome. To me, that's just something so cool.
Yeah, no, that's
must
super
be really
badass.
Jazzed about that.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, you're right though. I'm sure as it goes on, it'll be more and more common.
Yeah, but like you got to jump on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which to me is pretty rad.
It's funny, my dad's a tattooer, obviously, and then my mom's an accountant.
Oh, really?
So, like, couldn't be more different directions there. And they're not together anymore or anything, but it's just funny, like, how different they are.
Yeah. It's weird how... Were they together before they had their career paths, or...?
No.
No.
They had us. We were super young, and then they
Did what it
so
took.
they were like 16 when I was born, and they were split up by the time I was 5. So they weren't together very long. Not even barely really into adulthood, I would say.
Oh, wow.
You know, probably done by the time they were 20, 21. It's fun tattooing my dad. I tattoo him quite a bit, actually.
You still tattoo him?
Yep.
Yeah? Wow.
Yep. In Canada, we have a tattoo convention in Calgary. It's probably the best one in Canada. So every year I do that show, and then I'll go to, he's not far from there, so I'll go and visit him. He's on the other side of Canada from me, 4.5 hours on a plane. So
Okay.
we don't live close anymore, but yeah, every year I get to go down and tattoo at a shop after the Calgary show and tattoo him. I did his whole leg from the knee to the toes, all by hand, like totally hand poked.
Really?
And then and then now we're doing the upper part, but we're doing that by machine. It
Wow.
would just take forever. I think the bottom part, I wish I had kept track, but I estimated somewhere between 60 and 100 hours of hand poking, which was pretty cool.
And are you using a stick or?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, like stick and poke or whatever you'd call it. Just my normal needle that I use for dots and lining tied to a chopstick.
Really?
So, yep. Yeah.
I've seen a few tattooers these days that's all they're doing.
Yeah, it's
you
also
seen-
become pretty popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I look at it, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, it's just
Yeah.
super awesome, but
It's got to be a hard way to make a living.
gotta be a hard. Yeah, exactly.
It's time consuming for
There's-
sure.
One woman, I'm not sure where she's tattooing out of, but she does these pieces that look like they're one sitting tattoos or
Yep.
not these big projects, and I just think to myself, I wonder. I don't even know how long it could take because I've never done it, but
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome.
What-
So your father, you started tattooing your father. Are you doing a lot of like pile-ons, or were his legs bare?
Yeah, that one was blank.
Oh,
The one that
wow.
I got to work on. So, yeah, I was lucky there. Yeah, he's still got quite a bit of space. I mean, he's got lots of tattoos, but he's got a lot of space too, as well. I don't know if his generation was as obsessed with being completely covered as ours.
Yeah,
You know, it's different.
I like to look at like old tattoo pictures, and I
Yeah.
always think it's awesome at the same time as it's so odd when I see these tattooers, and they just have like 2 tattoos on the tops of their hands, and they tattooed for 50 years.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah, I don't know if it was. Yeah, back then maybe it wasn't the same sort of deal. Whereas like now, if you're a tattooer, most times you want to be covered, like
Yeah.
super covered.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe they weren't as much
Sometimes
like
these
that.
dudes with the 2 tattoos, they look pretty tough though.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, the hand poking stuff I only do once in a while. I wouldn't want to work like that all the time. It's too slow.
You gotta really like the client, right?
Yeah, that and the time it takes to do a piece, like that sleeve or whatever I started today. I mean, I felt like I had all these ideas in my head and I only had like so many hours to get what I could down. It was a little frustrating, I wish I could have sat there and like tattooed him for like 20 hours, got all the ideas that I had spinning in my head, get them all out and onto his arm before he left. So even with a machine, it's sometimes the time is frustrating. I couldn't imagine trying to pull off big work like that by hand.
Now, to
know?
those of us who haven't done a hand poke, especially not like a larger hand poke piece,
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like is it noticeably different when you look at the tattoo? Can you look at the tattoo and say, oh, this is, or is it tight? Is it just as tight?
For me, that's always been my goal, is to make it as tight as I could. The goal is to make it look like you can't tell.
Yeah.
If you really look at them super up close, especially with an educated eye, you'd be able to tell. But for the most part, I try to make them look like the same. So that's always been my thing with hand poke. I didn't want it to look like, oh, well, it looks good because it was hand poked,
Sure.
I want it to look good regardless, even if you don't know that. So I try really hard to make them look that way. What I really like about it is that you can do it anywhere. It's kind of punk rock in that way. You don't need electricity, you don't need much, you can do it wherever,
Sure.
I've heard of people tattooing on planes. I haven't done that yet, but I know some people that have.
Yeah.
I've done a bunch of tattoos like in Hawaii, like on the beach, on a mountain, all these cool places. That's something that I'm really into and I want to do more of, like tattooing in just really beautiful spots. Those are probably my favorite experiences tattooing I've ever had, for sure. Tattooing like up on
Right
this
in
mountain.
nature?
Yeah, totally in nature, up on a mountain, watching whales jump in the ocean with like a, you know, an old volcano in the background and little island, Hawaiian islands in the distance. Like, how fucking cool is that? That was one of my best days ever, for sure. I've done a few there. A friend of mine and I, we were supposed to tattoo each other at the Berlin Wall one time. That never,
Really?
Yeah, it never panned out, but just because of flights and stuff. But yeah,
Then
places
they went
like
and took
that.
the damn thing down.
Yeah.
Now what are you supposed to do, right?
Yeah, I want to do more stuff like that. That's like almost, when I'm done, I'd like to almost have a portfolio of that, places that I've tattooed like that, crazy spots.
Yeah, that's cool. It's kind of like an interesting take on the process of making art. You know,
Yeah.
the process is the location. That's.
Mm-hmm.
Do you typically limit the scope of what you're doing?
For one of those?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do anything too big. Those are usually, especially the outside ones or whatever, it's like a souvenir tattoo, so
Yeah.
it's nothing crazy, it's small. Something I can do in like, 2 hours at the most. Because sometimes they're usually, I don't know if I could get in trouble for doing them sometimes. I kind of feel like, I don't know if I should be doing this. Like if somebody comes along, like a park ranger or whoever like presides over this place, like if they come along, they'll kick me out. People sometimes come along and they're like, what are you guys doing? They see these people there and poking away and, what the hell are you guys doing over here? Oh, just a little tattoo. Okay. And someone's like, oh, they're gonna go run and get a cop or something. Like, I don't know if this is allowed. So they gotta be quick.
Now, if you do something like that, are you drawing it on, or are you going right to the skin?
I'll draw it on at least with a marker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Occasionally even I'll have a stencil ready if it's something, if I can have a little stencil ready, then it's more of a time thing. I can slap that stencil on and go. But the last few I did, I just drew on with markers. Nothing too crazy big or anything.
Do you have any? I know you have a. Do you have more than one book, or?
The Mandala book?
Yeah.
Just the one so
Just the
far.
Do you have anything in the works, or
Nothing serious.
No.
That I'm seriously working on yet. I've got ideas. I would like to do another one for sure.
are you someone inclined to? I know, particularly here off the map, TattooNOW, they're big into education and seminars and things like that. Is that something that you, as a tattooer, are interested in putting together a seminar for your type of thing, or do you think that that's?
I'm on the fence. Me and Gabe talked about this a lot. We've even talked about it this weekend.
That in no way is a loaded question
Yeah.
from any. That was just a sincere.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence about that. I totally am. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many people doing this style now as it is. I don't know if it's not that I'm trying to stop anyone from doing it, or that I mind that lots of people are doing it. But the thing about it is, I like when people do it differently. So I think if I go and teach people how to do it, then they're gonna do it exactly how I'm doing it. Whereas I'd be more interested in seeing someone else's take on it, like how they come up with from scratch how to do this stuff, or I don't know. I'm always on the fence about it. Wouldn't be bad, but I don't even know what I would talk about for 2 hours. Like,
Well,
I don't know if
again, believe me, that wasn't a
no, not at all. I don't
calculated
think
question.
it was. Yeah, no.
Just seemed like a natural one, being that we're here.
Yeah. No, I thought, and other people too have asked me. I don't know. I have thought about it, but I don't know if I'll ever do it or not. I'm not sure if I'm a seminar type of guy.
What got you into taking this style of artwork and kind of folding it into your own body of work, what was that moment where you were like, oh, this is? You said you picked it up when you were in Europe,
Yeah,
traveling.
yeah, in London, which is really where it started. London is like the mecca for this style, for sure. Yeah, I was over there because my girlfriend at the time was there. She ended up going over there for school, so I would go and visit her. And so I ended up doing guest spots at Bugs' shop, and Thomas was working there. And he's definitely one of the masters of this style. And then Zed is there in London. So yeah, once I started got my whole leg done by Thomas, and somebody over there asked me to do a back piece on them of Polynesian. And back then this style was much more closely linked with Polynesian stuff. It was a real mix of like dots and Polynesian and patterns and stuff. Now they're kind of seem to be like separating a little bit. But yeah, somebody asked me to do a Polynesian back piece. I'd never done any Polynesian before, so I started researching it to make sure I didn't do a crappy back piece on this guy. And once I started researching it, I got really into it. I was pretty, once I kind of figured the whole thing out, the basics of it, I was into it. I thought it was real cool the way it was, the negative and positive, the way they play on each other, and the way it's kind of an optical illusion. The way when you see the black designs, you don't necessarily see the white designs, or the the negative space ones, the stuff you don't tattoo. So once I realized that, like, what was going on there with both, I was like, man, this is pretty clever shit. It's like very optical. So yeah, it just was super intriguing. And then at the same time, I was working with Thomas, and he was doing all this crazy shit with dots and everything else. So both of them just really, really spoke to me, and that was it. I was super hooked. At that point, I was still trying to do everything that came in. I mean, I was only tattooing for like 2 years or something like that when I got in at Bugs's. So I was working in a street shop, trying to be able to do every style that came in the door and doing everything. But once I found that one, I was like, fuck, this one speaks to me a lot more than the rest. So I was totally into it. I've been doing it ever since, and just slowly phased everything else out as much as I can.
So how long did it take you to get to where, you just are doing this pointillism, or is that what you call it, pointillism? Or?
Yeah, pointillism, dot work, stippling.
Yeah.
I'm not too picky what people call it, whatever. I don't really care one way or the other. It wasn't too long before that was the bulk of what I did. I'd say a few years. Within 3 years, that was most of what I was doing.
So 5 years into your tattoo career, you were pretty much doing this.
Yep. Yep. And even now, I think there's still a process of slowly fading out all the old stuff. Like, I still have like one portrait book to do this year. I think I did another one too. So this year I did 2 portraits, I think. So there's still a little bit in there, but it's always evolving, your schedule and what you're doing. But just need to watch the difference of that time that I mentioned when I had to push it on people because they hadn't heard of it, and now people don't need to be talked into it at all. They come to me for it, so they're well aware of it. So that's cool. It's neat to see that change, and really I feel very lucky to be able to do exactly what I want, artistically.
Sure.
Enough people have seen what I do now, so I can get to be really picky, and not to be a snob about it or anything, but just that I get to steer my art in whatever direction I want at this point, which is so awesome. I feel very, very lucky to have that opportunity.
How much traveling do you do these days?
This year I did a lot. I'm right in the middle of doing a lot. I think I'm doing like somewhere around 10 or 11 shows this year. Usually I do 5 or 6, and then the last few years I've been going to Hawaii for February just to get out of the cold up there in Canada. So I travel quite a bit, I would say. But I do own a shop, so I can't be one of those constantly on the road guys.
Right.
I still need to be there. Generally the shop doesn't do a lot money-wise if I'm not there. So I kind of need to be there. I should probably be there more than I am, but I'm still there quite a bit.
Do you have a lot of artists that work for you?
Yeah, I got 4 other artists.
What, anyone there that's kind of moving toward your tutelage, or are they basically, they have their own voice and it's very different from what you do?
Yeah, there's nobody at my shop doing what I do.
Do you do any, do you take the opportunities to do collaboration tattoos with other artists, or is that not?
I did one a couple weeks ago. I don't do a lot of collabs, but I'd like to. That's something I'd like to get more into, for sure. I got a couple coming up. I got a couple artists that we've talked with, like that I've talked to, and we decided we want to collaborate together. So, yeah, I want to do more of it for sure.
Will it be along? I mean, I don't want you to give away the secrets, but will it be along like marrying two similar styles, or will it be juxtaposing
two different styles?
Yeah,
all the
sweet.
ones. I don't really have anything. I don't think I have any like collaborations lined up with anybody that does exactly what I do.
That'll be great.
Totally different ones. Yeah, one guy is he lives closer to me. He's Chris Anton. He does really like straight up, basic, traditional, like really clean, good, bold, traditional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna collaborate on like something. I'm hoping like a back piece. And me and Nick Chaboya, I think, are gonna do something as well. Probably a print and possibly a tattoo. Someone's expressed interest in us doing. Somebody actually approached us about it, kind of thing. So, like, oh hell yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could be super exciting. See what goes on there. Yeah, I definitely want to do more of it. I had a lot of fun doing that one the other week.
Who was that with?
With Josh Fields from Iowa. We did he's got a very oil painterly kind of style. His tattoos pretty much look like oil paintings. So he did a skull, and I did my pattern business, and we tattooed this kid for 12 hours straight, the two of us, one session, and finished it.
Wow.
It was a humongous tattoo. It was like a quarter of his back, and it was his first tattoo. He sat there for the whole thing. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was his first tattoo?
Yeah. Right. He had a little tattoo on the inside of his lip from 15 years ago, but other than that, yeah, that was his first.
That was awesome.
His first real tattoo. Yeah, it was incredible that he sat through that. I was pretty blown away. But it was a lot of fun. I was stoked on the tattoo as well. Came out really good. Yeah, me and Josh are going to do some more too at some point, I'm sure. I'm going down to his shop in November. I'm sure he'll be back at my shop again at some point. So, yeah, we definitely were interested in doing some more.
Am I rolling good? Because I love saying 1, 2, 3, 4.